Hola, hola chicos, ¿qué tal? Soy Gordon. I hope you're all well. I'm continuing the videos on the subjunctive, okay? But now we've talked about the present subjunctive enough. There are probably lots and lots of gaps that need to be filled in the future, and we'll do that, Cynthia and I, together. However, I want to talk about the past subjunctive or the imperfect subjunctive, okay? I don't need to do many videos on this, probably 2, I think, because once you understand the present subjunctive and once you understand how it works, then it works identically in the past. The past subjunctive is the same, it's just in the past. There are a couple of dodgy things with it which have nothing to do with subjunctive. So what we're going to do is we'll deal with them separately, okay? But I just want to talk about the imperfect subjunctive. And this is how it works. First of all, the endings of the imperfect subjunctive. You've got, if you've got a 501 verb book, I think it's called 500 and a lot of verbs now. Or if you look on the internet, or just check the endings on the imperfect subjunctive. What you're going to see is this. ER and IR verbs have the ending iera, that's I-E-R-A, iera, or iese, okay? And then the AR verbs have ara or ase. Okay, so let's just use a bog standard verbs. Hablar in the imperfect subjunctive is hablara or hablase. Okay? And comer would be comiera, comiese. And vivir would be viviera, viviese. Okay. Now, before we get into the irregular ones, the irregular verbs, the question always is, well, which one do we use? Do we use iera in certain places and iese in others? It doesn't matter, okay? Scone, scone, you choose. They do say that more Spanish people use iera, okay, and ara than iese and ase, but it really doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't matter. So you choose the one that's better for you. I used to use the ase and iese just because it wouldn't confuse itself with the future, which is, you've got hablara and hablará, okay? So I used to just use the se, but you use whatever's right for you, okay? So any irregular verb like for example, tener, go to the preterite plural, they, the third person plural. So you've got the tener is tuvieron, yeah? And you use that root and change it to iera, tuviera, okay? So that's all you have to do with the regular ones, or go to the third person and that'll give you the root that you use. So that's how you make it, okay? Look, I'll not spend too much time talking about how you make it. I want to talk about how you use it, because that's the more important thing. You can study how to make it separately. Let's look at a classic present tense sentence, okay? We used this in the last one. I hope they come tomorrow, okay? Espero que vengan mañana. So that's present subjunctive. You've got the trigger of I hope, that, and then you use vengan, yeah? Now, all that happens in the past is that sentence is in the past. That's when you have to use the past subjunctive. So, I hope they come tomorrow becomes I hoped they came. I hope they might come the next day, okay? Or, so that would be yo esperaba que vinieran al día siguiente, okay? Yo esperaba que vinieran or viniesen, okay? There's no difference. So all I've done is I've just moved that sentence with the trigger into the past. So in the present, if you say espero que, that's a trigger for the subjunctive. In the past, if you say esperaba que, that's a trigger as well. The trigger is the imperfect subjunctive or the past subjunctive. Okay? Or esperé que viniera. Okay? What other things? Es importante que estudien. It's important that they study. Okay? Es importante que estudien. Present. Put that into the past. It was important that they studied. Okay? So that's exactly the same. It is important, trigger. It was important, the trigger. But you must use the past subjunctive. So, era importante que estudiaran. O era importante que estudiasen. Okay? O fue importante que estudiaran. O fue importante que estudiasen. It doesn't matter which one you use. Harán, hacen. Okay? But all you've got to understand is that every rule that you've learned, every trigger that you've learned in the present, when it goes into the past, you need to use a subjunctive. You're just going to use the past subjunctive. Okay? So it's called the imperfect subjunctive, but it should be called the past subjunctive. It would be much easier, wouldn't it? Present subjunctive, past subjunctive. But they call it the imperfect. The same as we call the imperfect past. The imperfect past. Okay, so that's the standard thing for subjunctive in the past. Use the past subjunctive. Okay? But then we've got these little strangeties, these little strange things that happen. For example, and we talked about this, when you say, if he came, we would go to the cinema. Okay, so this if he came. Now I've already talked about that. We're not saying if he comes. That's a very different sentence. We're saying if he came. So we're talking about a hypothetical future thing, but we're using the word came, past tense. So that is your signal, your alarm to say the subjunctive needs to be used here. If he came, we would go to the cinema. Si viniera, iríamos al cine. Okay? Si viniese, iríamos al cine. So that's one part of where it isn't even, I don't even see it like the subjunctive. This is just a little extra where the subjunctive is used. Okay, and it's always used, the if, past tense, would. Okay, always used with a conditional, the would, which some people describe as the rubbish tense, the useless tense, the no good tense. Why? Because the conditional, not always, but most times comes with the word but, which you say, I would, but, and then you give the reason why you're not going to do it. Yo comería mejor, pero es que me encantan los donuts. Okay? I would eat better, but I love donuts. So the conditional is always, it's a kind of a hypothetical type of thing where it's not likely that it's going to happen. And that sentence that you use is very, very similar. Listen to the difference. No. If he comes, we'll go to the park. Okay? If he came, we would go to the park. The second one sounds much further away, much less likely to happen. Okay? If I win the lottery, I'm off to Spain. Okay? If I won the lottery, I would go to Spain. Again, the second one sounds less likely to happen. The first one's quite definite, isn't it? And that's what this thing's about, like the if word. It's just a, maybe sometime in the future, possible. Okay? Now, there is one other way that the subjunctive's used in Spanish that's important to know, and it's with the expression as if. Okay? He talks to me as if I was an idiot. Okay? And the way to say as if in Spanish is como si. Como si. Now, that is a trigger for always for the past subjunctive, the imperfect subjunctive. Okay? When you say como si, you're going to use the past subjunctive always. And after a while, it just becomes absolutely natural that you'll always use that. So that sentence is, me habla como si fuera idiota. Okay? Now, did you hear the word I used? Fuera. Now that's from ser. Okay? And in the past subjunctive, there are very few verbs that are irregular. Ser and ir, okay, become fuera. Fuera. So, me habla como si fuera idiota, okay? O me trata como si fuera su esclavo. He treats me as if I was his slave. Como si. Yeah? So that always is a trigger for the imperfect subjunctive. And it's a nice one. We use it quite often. So it's worthwhile having that one in your head. Él conduce como si tuviera mucha prisa. He drives as if he was in a real hurry. Yeah? Conduce como si tuviera prisa. Okay? So, I'm going to finish off with the next one, just talking about a couple of unusual things with the subjunctive, present, and the past subjunctive. And then that's it. The next thing that you'll see are some videos where Cynthia and I will discuss the subjunctive together in Spanish, and then you can see how it works, okay? Pues hasta luego.